Because of why I search the deep through endless nights, no time to sleep. The call inside I can't deny. I'll find the light because of why.
Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to get into the fascinating and, pretty complicated story of Hong Kong's economy. I mean, how does a small island with basically zero natural resources become one of the wealthiest places on the planet? All right, let's jump right in.
Because, there's this weird contradiction at the very heart of Hong Kong. You see that incredible skyline, all the glamour, the money, but then you hear these stories about the struggles people face. It really makes you wonder what's actually going on.
Yeah, it's like two different worlds. In one, you've got headlines talking about tough economic times and some of the most expensive housing in the entire world. But then you walk around the city and the vibe is all about visible wealth, luxury cars, designer bags, you name it. So how can both of these things be true at the same time? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go back to the very beginning.
It all kicks off with a really specific and honestly a pretty radical economic idea that basically became the city's blueprint for getting rich. The policy was called Positive Non-interventionism, which is a fancy way of saying the government's official plan was to not have a plan. Seriously. The idea was to just get out of the way, don't interfere, and let the free market work its magic. And this quote just nails the whole philosophy. It's from the successor to John Copperthwaite, who was the main guy behind this policy, and it's crystal clear. The government basically believed that trying to control the economy would only end up hurting it.
So when you put all that together, you create this incredibly attractive place to do business. We're talking super low taxes, trade with almost no rules, a stable legal system based on British law, and the government had almost no debt. It was pretty much the perfect recipe for an economic explosion.
Okay, so with that blueprint locked in, Hong Kong started building the engine that would power its rise, turning itself into the essential gateway between the East and the West. And the city proved to be amazingly adaptable. Right after World War II, it was all about trade. Then, when that got tricky, it pivoted and became this manufacturing giant, making things like clothes and plastics. And then, as that got more expensive, it completely reinvented itself once again.
Just look at this chart. It shows you how insane that transformation really was. The whole economy did a complete 180. Manufacturing, which used to be a massive chunk of the economy, just shrank away, while the service industry, it exploded to become more than 90% of everything.
And if we look a little closer, we can see exactly which services took over. Along with its traditional role in trade, it was financial services that went through the roof, literally tripling its share of the economy in just a few decades. Hong Kong became a place where money was moved, not just things.
And this is really what cemented its modern identity. When Mainland China started opening up its economy back in the late 70s, Hong Kong became the absolutely essential bridge, the superconnector, funneling all this global money, talent, and trade into the mainland and, of course, back out again. So this brings us to the bill. All of this incredible growth created staggering, mind-boggling wealth, but it also had some serious consequences, and that explains the paradox we talked about at the start.
First off, let's just take a second to appreciate the scale of this. Between 1950 and 2018, the average income for a person in Hong Kong grew by over 1,300%. That is an absolutely wild explosion of wealth.
But that wealth was not spread around evenly, not even close. As the economy shifted towards high-end stuff like finance, the top 1% of earners saw their slice of the pie get a whole lot bigger, jumping from under 11% to over 16% of all wages. And at the exact same time, the bottom half of the population saw their piece of that pie shrink a lot. It fell from nearly 19% all the way down to just over 11%. And this right here is the staggering reversal that explains everything. Back in the early 80s, the bottom half of workers, as a group, earned almost twice as much as the top 1%. Fast forward to 2018, and they were earning 30% less. The gap didn't just get wider, it completely flipped on its head.
Which brings us right back to what you see on the streets. I mean, when buying a home is so far out of reach that saving up feels completely pointless, a different kind of thinking takes over.
This sentiment, you see it all over online discussions. It helps explain that culture of spending on luxuries you can get. If you can't afford the big dream, you might as well buy the small one. So, with all these challenges in the mix, where does Hong Kong go from here? Well, it looks like that old blueprint is being totally redrawn. That old-school hands-off philosophy of positive non-interventionism seems to be on its way out. It's being replaced with a much more active, targeted strategy. The government isn't just letting the market decide anymore. It's getting in there and actively trying to shape the future.
And this isn't just talk. We're seeing real policy changes. Things like special tax breaks for wealthy investors, getting rid of taxes for things like REITs, those are real estate investment trusts, and lowering the tax on stock trades to stay competitive. It's a huge shift from don't interfere to let's intervene strategically. Which really leaves us with the billion-dollar question. The original formula for getting rich worked amazingly well in a very specific time in history. But now, in a world that's a lot more uncertain and with countries putting up more trade barriers, can this new, more hands-on Hong Kong model deliver that same kind of success for the next generation?
What's your take on it? What do you think is the biggest hurdle for Hong Kong's economy? Let us know down in the comments. And hey, if you found this breakdown useful, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.